And the need is huge, okay? The need is huge and it's not ending. And we're on the verge of not being able to continue.
Welcome to What Came After. I'm your host, Manya Marcus. On What Came After, we'll take a look at the many ways that people's lives changed on and after the brutal massacre in Israel on October 7th, 2023. We'll be speaking with people in Israel and around the world about how the devastating attack by Hamas has shifted, shaped, and changed them. To learn more about our podcast, please visit us at whatcameafter.com. Rami, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to start by asking you to introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing here?
I'm Rami Zelikovich, and I have been back in Israel in 2002 after 19 years in the States. And mostly I was dealing with tennis. I was teaching tennis, but I went to the States to study music, and I did. And when I didn't have anything to eat, I went back to tennis. And I found out that I'm more a teacher than anything else. So I've been doing it all those years. I had the tennis club here in Tel Aviv before. Now I'm managing a tennis club in Abu Ghosh, which is an Arabic village on the way to Jerusalem. And it's a program that's supposed to promote coexistence, Arab Jews. But I've been doing it only for 1 year through our foundation. And the foundation was founded for tennis or for sports purposes. And during the war, we started doing some other things in order to try to help community. So the foundation is managing the Abu Ghosh program as well. And since almost the beginning of the war, a day or two after, Asaf from J17 approached me and asked me to help him with his project, feeding soldiers with vegan food. He has a vegan restaurant in Yirmiyahu Street in Tel Aviv. And he started operating with maybe 2,000 volunteers. He did incredible stuff. He was delivering between 1,000 to 2,000 meals, hot meals a day. And there were people standing there right on the sidewalk and cooking. And
So let me just take a step back. Asaf is the
owner of J17.
And he approached your foundation.
I'm managing the foundation. I mean, officially, I'm running all the programs. So I'm doing everything that's necessary.
And what is the name of the foundation?
It's a foundation, the name of Eldar Barnir, which he was a friend of mine. He was a tennis coach. He was killed in car accident in 2008. And his sister founded this foundation. And at the beginning, the foundation was doing partially tennis programs, but mostly a tennis circuit for children, ages 6 to 18, circuits of tournaments all year round. We had like 400 kids in each competition, 5-6 competitions a year. And this has been going for 15 years now.
Was the goal always to promote coexistence?
The coexistence came about a year ago. We saw an opportunity, and in Israel, all the sport is being run by foundations, not by private businesses. Okay, because many different reasons, it's easier to get funds from government, and they're giving funds for sports and all that, but everything goes through foundations, not for private people. And we saw that opportunity to do what we are doing in another level. So in the meantime, the war started and it changed everything. And now we're trying to regroup because we did a very good year there, but we're trying to figure out the balance between financial and professional. And it got much more difficult to do that. So we're trying to wait now to start a new year. We'll see how it goes. But basically we're in sports, especially in tennis, for all those years. And the restaurant came about just because the situation of the war.
How did Asaf, who owns J17, how does he know you?
Tennis. Asaf used to own a tennis club for many years. We used to work together. And he had a club in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem once before. And we know each other from tennis since I came back to Israel.
Has J17 always been kosher?
Yes. As far as I know, yes.
So this is a place where people who keep kosher can eat and people who are vegan can also eat. So Asaf approached you, and what did he say?
He needed foundation in order to support him in this project of feeding soldiers. And he realized that the restaurant is not going to do anything during the war. It was, hard time. And he found the need to do that for the soldiers, and not just the soldiers, all the organizations that support the situation, also for Nova survivors. So we're going once a week in Rishpon. There is a group of Nova survivors there. We go once a week to feed them and feed the families, and Fridays and on Thursday nights, wherever it's needed, basically. And a few months ago, we got a nice donation that we bought a food truck. We have all the pictures and everything. Obviously it's a podcast, but
We can put it on the website.
yep. So what happened is I started to help with raising funds because it's a lot of money. Some companies gave us food as donation, but a lot of expenses and a lot of volunteers. I self-managed maybe 2,000 volunteers over this time. People that came from all over the world and looked for ways to help. So we made contacts. And now the food truck is going everywhere. Like a few weeks ago, we went to the Golan Heights, to the army base. And a lot of soldiers are right in between. Let's say they have a place where they gathered just before they go to the border or something like that. So what they have there is not sufficient. I can't say they don't have food, but it's not sufficient. So they call us, they ask us to come, and we come with the food truck. That's what we do. So I was focusing more on managing the business side, the financial side, raising funds. We did some campaign for fundraising, and we raised quite a lot of money, but it's not enough.
Never enough.
Never enough. So over this time, I managed all the money. I paid all the vendors, and I did whatever it's necessary with us together to keep it going.
So I want to say that we're recording this on September 25th, 2024, because I'm not sure when this episode will actually be released. And we had a rocket siren this morning. It's heating up in the north. This war is finally happening, I think, in the north. And I just want to make it clear that to take a food truck right now to the Golan is risky.
Yes, it is. I don't know in the last few days how far stuff went, but I went with the food truck few weeks ago. My sister lives there in Katsarin, and just the day before, a soldier got killed in the base that we were. It was a bomb there, and the next few days, a couple got killed on the road, near the kibbutz there, and the fields are burned. But we go whatever it takes, whatever it's necessary. So I don't know what Asaf did in the last few days in terms of the food truck. I can see in the WhatsApp groups, so he's going places, but
this has been happening. I mean, now it's really happening. But we've been waiting for this for a long time. And what was the atmosphere on the base when you arrived a day after somebody had been killed there?
There is something that is crazy, I can say, that people are just living, doing their things, and you cannot feel. I mean, they're just living day by day, and you don't feel like, wow, the atmosphere is bad or something. But because those people are there for a purpose, and they're happy that we come there and we help them and all that. And if you go deeper, we come for a few hours, we do the food and they're happy and all that. So it's hard for me to answer the question, but I think we learn to accept things, the reality. So we live day by day and we say, oh, whatever, that's it. That's the way it goes.
Understand.
But at the same time, there's a deeper level of, I don't know if it's fear, but it's fear of the unknown. Situation is not good right now. And that's what I can say about that.
Let's pivot for a minute to your own experience of the war. What was October 7th like for you?
It's still going. We're still on October 7th right now. Because, first of all, we couldn't believe it's happening. And every day that went by, we couldn't believe that, not just because it happened, because the way it happened, with our best army in the world maybe, or whatever. and the best intelligence in the world and everything. We couldn't believe the way it happened. We didn't feel that the government responded well to the situation. Every day we see the TV is loaded with articles and stuff about people that lost their home and lost their families and everything. And every one of us knows some that were killed or missing or whatever. So we're still living it every day. So it's not just what happened in there, we're in disbelief. But other than that, every day things are coming out and we're torn between the solidarity and all this great stuff that happens in Israel in terms of people that are rising to the occasion versus the feeling that on the top something is bad happening.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to get into politics too
No,
much,
no,
but it's just the feeling that there are two countries right now. Okay, a country that's us and the government that is not taking responsibility, disconnected, and financially, it's a huge government that is unnecessary, and the fear of the unknown.
I want to amplify something that you just said about kind of the civil society rising to the occasion, because ASAF, J17, really relies on volunteers. I think I'm probably in some of those WhatsApp groups, and sometimes I've seen J17 is in a really difficult situation. The 7 people who signed up aren't here, and therefore they can't do what they need to do. And this is relying on unpaid people. Can you speak about, to your knowledge, how they get these volunteers and if they continue to need the volume of volunteers that they did at the beginning?
We always need, but we need money. I'm telling you this straightforward right now. We're on the verge of not being able to continue. And the need is huge, okay? The need is huge and it's not ending. There are the people that lost their homes, so they get sometimes also, it's not just the soldiers. And we're on the verge of not being able to continue. So that's the situation in terms of volunteers. You see, Asaf is in a very prominent location. So people go by, a lot of tourists go by, and the word spreads out, and he got a lot of volunteers. He always needs, but at the beginning, we were cooking on the street. Okay, you could see pictures of 50 people cooking and packing and delivering and having volunteers come with their car to deliver stuff. But now we're doing mostly with the food truck. So the food truck is going places. But then we needed a refrigerated car as well with the food truck. And it costs a lot of money, gas. Not always have the food being donated by the companies, but they do, but it's not enough. So we do need volunteers, but it's not the same operation that it used to be.
There's something that's been coming up in the interviews about the mismatch between what people want to do to support the war, how they envision themselves being helpful, and what the needs really are. I think it's hard to hear sometimes from the diaspora that what is needed is money. When you have this vision of coming here and doing something more with your hands or your feet. But it's true.
There are some people that organize volunteers in terms of where it's needed, and there are like websites and stuff that people can figure out. And I understand that people want to come and help, and there's a room for help, but maybe they can help with marketing in order to raise money, not necessarily giving money. In terms of social networks and stuff, technology, I'm decent in technology, but I'm always facing difficulties in terms of my ability to raise money. It's an operation that costs a lot.
Yeah.
With the car and gas and all that. And we need both. We need volunteers, and volunteers maybe that will help us to create a network in order to raise the money to continue.
So actually the first way that I heard about J17 is I'm in an enormous Facebook group called Sword of Iron Volunteers. It's like 37,000 people now. I'm sure he gets a lot of volunteers from this group. It's a Facebook group.
But it's changing. People are getting tired.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know, on a daily basis, every day he's saying, I need somebody to go with the food truck for a day trip, you know, and he wants to have another food truck so we can go
multiple places.
He can keep one in the north rather than going every day, you know, which is a lot of gas and stuff.
So I want to also emphasize that the vegan component of this is a real need. here. Israel has a really sizable vegan population, actually. What can you say about that piece of it, the vegan piece?
I'm close to that, but I'm not vegan, to be honest. I'm not in the vegan community on a daily basis, but I know that it's growing big time. And I know that some soldiers and that we got to them, they were so happy. It's not just vegan soldiers got vegan food. We didn't ask anybody, give us your ID to see that you're vegan, but you know.
Right.
But I know that it was a big demand for that and it's growing.
I want to pivot and talk about other areas
Okay.
of your work. You're a guy who does a lot of things. You are a musician and you create digital content, videos.
I always like to create. So for me, when I was in the States, I was doing a lot of photography. And then when the computers came, I got into graphic design. I studied in Tampa 2 years, interactive media. I need to create all the time, if it's writing stuff or if it's music or if it's graphics or video or anything. But I'm not as much interested in order to make it as a business, especially the graphics. So it gave me an opportunity and I do that in between stuff and I need to balance things. So right now I'm doing a new song and a new clip, but everything I do, I'm not trying. I mean, you can try to have passion. Either you have it or you don't.
So we actually looked at some of your songs and your videos before we started this interview. And, it's only 3 or 4 things that I've seen. But to me, so far, it seems like you tackle some very big subjects: social commentary, religious commentary. I'm sure there's some political commentary that's in there.
There was Corona commentary.
Corona commentary. There you go. Let's talk for a minute about the 2 videos that I've seen. There's a video where you talk a lot about God. And then there's a video and a song that you created that is very resonant in terms of October 7th. But interestingly, both of those were created before the war.
The God issue resonates with me for a long time. It's not that I'm searching, but when I was in the States, I did some seminars and I always touch things, but I'm not someone that goes in one direction all the way. I like to go, as I said, wider. So there are a lot of interesting things in religious, but the way it's being politicized right now, it's almost impossible to touch it. You either go all the way or either you're out. And that's how I feel in Israel. Although a lot of non-religious people today using the name of God and God help me and all that, but when you go deeper, then you either go all the way or you don't. That's the way it goes in Israel. Now, I tried to do the song about God just to look from outside and to say, wait, God is responsible for our well-being, so he's also responsible for the other stuff. That's how I view it. I know that it's not a religious point of view about God, but I just wanted to put it up front with a bit of inspiration from George Carlin.
We might have some younger listeners. Do you want to tell us about the George Carlin bit that he does or that he did?
George Carlin was an incredible comedian, and he was very methodical with his comedy. It was not like just a bunch of jokes. He was writing things through in a very deep way. And he did something very famous about God. So it makes sense that he's asking the questions. I'm sure that everybody have different answers from different point of view. I like to provoke a bit. And I have another song that is called Use Me, which in Hebrew it's Natslioti, use me. The connotation is very bad because using people and all that. So everybody say, oh, maybe you should use a different word. No, use me, it's provoking. The thought that using can be a good thing. Use me as much as you can, as much as I'll let you. And we're all using each other. It's coming from a strength in terms of relationship. It was more aimed towards relationship. If we're both strong, we shouldn't be afraid of this world. You can use me as much as you want, as much as I'm allowing you. And use it as much as you're allowing me. There's nothing bad about it.
So this concept of sort of healthy usage What does it mean to you when you think about your efforts during the war? Are you being used to your potential or as you would like to be?
Am I being used? I'm doing whatever I can. I like balance. For me, balance is everything in life. It took me many years to get to this point, but the balance means that I do everything I can and I will not do whatever I cannot. I accept the way things are with no regrets, with no guilt. And if I can do 2 hours of food for soldiers a day, that's what I will do. If I can do 8, I will do 8.
I'm just thinking about this. Nobody wants to say I'm being used. That's a very negative statement, but people do like to say I'm being useful.
I think with my approach, I'm more useful than I've ever been. And being used, it's a sense of I'm a victim. And if you think about it and you're not a victim, you can say, hey, use me as much as you want, as much as I allow you. I put the boundaries, I'm strong, I can handle it. So it's the connotation, it's not really the meaning of the word, because in the dictionary, it's not saying that it's a bad word. It's just a word.
So you feel more useful than you've ever been. You are how old?
65.
That's a long history at which to find yourself most useful now. Do you want to say anything else about that?
It's creating harmony, not battling anything, not fighting anything, and not complaining about anything. I live with the concept that nobody owes me anything. Nobody owes me anything, and that changes the way I'm living. So I think that made me more useful.
There's something that you said before we started the interview about how you know less than you ever have. And you said it with a smile. You're smiling now. It sort of feels like a position of freedom, maybe.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a saying, best control is no control. It takes years to grasp this.
Has the war helped you get to this place?
I think I got to this place way before. What happened with the war is the planning for long run has subsided. I mean, I never planned too much, but I have a vision and things, but the notion that we live day by day and we never know what's going to happen next day, that helps to subside the anxiety. That lays really somewhere deep. On the deeper level, I feel it.
There's this saying that an hour is a long time in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, the war has made that very clear. And it sounds like you've actually been able to live more in the present.
Yes.
I want to go back to the music for a second.
Okay.
This is a very, to my mind, a philosophical conversation. And one of the things that I noted as you were talking about, look, if we accept the notion of God, we accept God as responsible for the good and the bad. And the song is provocative in that way. The video, we can give a link to it. But actually, when you explore that possibility that maybe God made a mistake, all these different ways of understanding God that are untraditional, you seem not angry about it. You seem like you could accept a God who doesn't totally know what he's doing. What do you have to say about that?
It's my acceptance of God, because I don't know if there's God or not. So in a way, it's not that I am accepting that God is good and God is bad. I'm just bringing the stories that people are bringing to me. I'm just putting it up front, like George Carlin did. I know that the religious concept is not that the God is responsible. We are responsible. They don't claim that God is responsible, but the way that it comes out is God will do good things and God will help me. So if he can help me, why he doesn't? That's what I bring out. I'm just saying, hey, if you want to say that God is helping.
The video, the song, to me, feels very relevant to the war. It's, where is God? Oh, God is everywhere. It's like the miracle of unity right now and the tragedy of how this all started. Do you think about God more since the war?
No, not at all for me. I don't have to know right now. I don't have to know.
So I think that the song about God, as I said, is very relevant. But when we were talking about relevant songs to this period, you chose something else. Can you tell us about this song?
Yes, this song is about the fact that we sent our kids to die, basically. I mean, to fight. And it's a song that my cousin, he's 90 years old, wrote. So he wrote the lyrics, and then it was before the war when it came out. But it's more relevant now because it's talking about sacrifice, our children, and no more. Basically saying no more. Don't send your kids there anymore. It's a bit controversial, as if we are rebelling against the country or against the government. But I wouldn't like to think this way because we still send our kids, we still do this, but I hope people don't see it as controversial. Like I'm calling people to rebel or something. There's a little bit of that, but we don't mean that because basically it's a painful song. It's a song with pain.
How do you feel about it now? It seems like we need a military, we need defenses. How do you hear the lyrics now?
I have a bit of a conflict there, but I know that I wouldn't rebel. If my son has to go, he will go. We could have doubts, political doubts about the government, about why and all that, but we still do. We don't rebel. We could rebel by demonstrating and all that, but we don't rebel by saying, hey, we don't do our share. So I accept the conflict there in the song, and I just make the decision not to deal with it. Not to say, where am I standing? No, it's I don't mean to rebel, okay?
Meaning you're not telling people to dodge the draft in this country, you understand that.
And there's just one sentence there that is saying, don't let him go there, but it's just, his mother is calling and saying, no more. But I hope nobody sees it as a rebellious, because that's not the meaning.
Looking at the song about God, looking at the song about kind of don't send to war, I wish we didn't need to send to war, however you want to interpret it. It sounded in our earlier conversations like it's really important to you that the music, maybe right now more than ever, doesn't hurt people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I don't need to hurt anybody. I live very much in peace. I'm not too much holding on past and why it happened. It doesn't matter why it happened. The question is what I'm going to do about it right now.
Thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
It's
all
been
the way from Chicago.
Very interesting. Well, what can I say? It's good to travel. Thank you again.
ואומר לך לא עוד בדמי חיי ואומר לך לא עוד בדמייך ואומר לך לא עוד ובצער תלדי ואתה אל תיגע עוד בנار ואומר לך לא עוד אל תתירי הדם ואומר לך לא עוד אל תתירי ואומר לך לא עוד מידייך יקראו עוד ועוד באיבם ילדייך כי עייפה נפשך וריקים הם כל חדרייך עוד לא שב אישך ולשם גם הלכו נערייך כי עייפה נפשך וריקים הם כל חדרייך עוד לא שב אישך ולשם גם הלכו נערייך ואומר לך לא עוד קורבנייך לתת ואומר לך לא עוד קורבנייך ואומר לך לא עוד לעת ערב אורבים על ביתך כי אכלה בו החרב ואומר לך לא עוד מול עינייך אימה ואומר לשם לעולם אל תתניהו ללכת כי עייפה נפשך עוד לא שב אישך כי עייפה נפשך הריקים הם כל חדרייך עוד לא שב אישך ולשם גם הלכו נערייך ולשם גם הלכו נערייך.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to What Came After wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us online at whatcameafter.com.